Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Network 27. I'm Alderman Walter Burnett, Alderman of the 27th Ward. First of all, I want to thank everyone who helped us put the show together. We appreciate all their help. We want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. As you know, Network 27 is a show that we have been doing for several years, almost over 20 years, to inform people about the opportunities and resources that folks can take advantage of in the community. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we want to talk about some folks that's very near and dear to our heart, some folks who have sacrificed their lives for us to be able to have the freedoms that we have today. They're very important to us. We also like to wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day, and we like to thank everyone who helped with our Valentine's Day event for the senior citizens, and thank all of the seniors who came. Hope that everyone had a good time. So today, ladies and gentlemen, I have with us an organization called The Inner Voice. The Inner Voice have been around for a long time. They not only help with veterans, but they also help with homelessness. And they're a very great organization. And we also have an organization that's new to me, but maybe old to some other folks, called Code Platoon. Code Platoon is an organization that also helps with veterans. So today, ladies and gentlemen, if you have family members that are veterans, if you know someone that's out there that are veterans that need some help, you need to pay attention, all right? Because we have some resources for them today, dealing with jobs, housing, and all of the above. There's people who care about our veterans, who have organizations that want to help them. So today we're going to start out with Sir Demetrius Charles Everett.
Yes.
He's with the Inner Voice, and also with Ralph Riess. Riess. He's also with the Inner Voice. Sir Demetrius, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and tell them who you are, and then Riess, if you do the same thing, and then you all can tell us what the Inner Voice is all about.
Okay, great. First, I'd like to thank you for having us in our organization. Extremely humbled. So my name is Sir Demetrius Charles Everett. I'm an employment specialist at Inner Voice. My background initially involved with social service, social work, working with nonprofits, encouraging youth, just to change their circumstances. And then I developed more into the recruitment side once I obtained my master's degree, industrial organizational psychology, and that brought me to a stance where I wanted to have more impactful change on individuals who are experiencing a host of different struggles and obstacles, and I felt it would be best for me to align myself with a great organization such as Inner Voice.
Fantastic. And Mr. Riess?
Yeah, actually it's pretty neat because I was actually introduced to Inner Voice through the veteran program. Being a veteran, I was in the Navy for about 4.5 years.
You look like you're still a teenager, man.
I appreciate that. Appreciate that. But yeah, was in it for 4.5 years, great service, and enjoyed the guys and the camaraderie I was able to develop, the relationships I've developed there. Still hold those relationships strong today. But with Inner Voice, and my background going into it, I was coming into it as a guy who didn't know a lot about the programs. So I had a recruiting background, I did some financial and accounting there. I had a background with CNC programming and operating, and I did some odd-end jobs. So my approach to Inner Voice was coming to where do we get benefits? So I was learning that process with them, and that was a unique process with me going into it. And it was just really unique because I already had that built into me, the outreach piece, which I'm more or less involved with right now with Inner Voice. And that's kind of like where my background coming from, because I have a couple different businesses I helped my family develop in the past. Just reaching out to the community, always helping them out, helping get the word out and through marketing and advertising. And it just kind of played hold when I got involved with Inner Voice in the beginning.
So you were in the Navy?
Yes.
And what did you do in the Navy?
I was a Navy diver.
Okay.
I did that I was in charge of salvage and recovery. A lot of the incidents you saw out in Haiti with the earthquake and tsunami, we were involved with that. I was involved out in Japan as well with their incident as well. Clearing out the harbors, making sure the ships and the supply ships can get in there. so that honestly the people can get fed and they can get the supplies and they can get the construction detail as far as the rebuilding their homes. All that stuff had to come in, so we had to clear those harbors in the beginning.
Fantastic, fantastic. So you said you came to the Inner Voice as a veteran.
Yes.
Looking for resources.
Yep.
Okay. So can you, between both of you all, can you all tell us what is the Inner Voice? How long the Inner Voice been around, and what all do the Inner Voice do?
Well, Inner Voice has been around since 1984. It was founded by Reverend Johnson. Initially, he started off as a soup kitchen, just providing, some nourishment for members of the community. But upon that, he had realized that they needed a broader array of services, just trying to, assist the individuals in the community, overcome their circumstances. And so with that, you have to provide more resources and support. So that brought about a different host of, services to provide for the individuals in the community. So we do have a lot of different programs, over 13 programs that we have, as far as housing, assisting with veterans. My program specifically H.I.R.E, and we try to take a goal-oriented approach, to meet individuals where they at, to provide anything that could be useful to them, to achieve sustainability through economic efforts. So it's
So the Inner Voice started out basically as a food kitchen, then they
Correct.
started out as transitional housing for homeless people to stay overnight in different places throughout the city, more to understand. And then later on, we lost Reverend Johnson,
yes.
right, who was a good friend of mine. And then Inner Voice had to find a new leader.
Yes.
And there's now a lady named Jackie Eaton, who's in charge of Inner Voice, who actually used to be a commissioner with the city.
Yep.
Matter of fact, she was in charge of our workforce development with the city. But before that, she's with Family and Supportive Services. So she dealt with homelessness and also jobs.
Yeah.
So she had dual experience in both areas of jobs for homelessness, but also jobs, period, for people in society. So I think with those two experiences and the resources that she have, I think it took the Inner Voice to another level.
It really did.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me, I don't know when and how you all go from being transitional housing to helping all homeless people, right, that need a place to stay, to specifically working with veterans. How did it transition to that? Probably because there's a lot of veterans that were homeless?
I believe it's about 17, 18 years ago when they first made that movement. And I believe maybe Sir Everett he can actually go a little bit more into details as far as that goes. But it wasn't too long ago, maybe a couple decades ago, when they actually decided, hey, there's a huge veteran population as far as that are homeless. As the numbers I saw before, just in recorded instances, there's over 40,000 recorded homeless veterans.
Wow.
And then again, no one organization can do it all, but at the end of the day, we knew the housing services need to be provided, employment services need to be provided, and the most important thing out of all that, how do we prevent that from happening, or how do we prevent the ongoing cases of being homeless or being chronic homelessness? In this case would be, starting to help them develop some economic sufficiency in their life, and that's with helping them with a job. In our case here, I'm maybe involved in the outreach aspect of it, but I do intake, I do some case management work, I do a lot of cross training as well, so I can help everyone else out with their programs. But the main job here is to make sure that we're working with veterans that are willing and able to do the work. We can't take them in, we can't force them to drink water if they're not willing to drink water. So it takes some trust that we have, some of those barriers that we have to break down, because we all know that veterans have some background. Some of them were in war, some of them were just in very stressful times. They get out, they don't really know how their field of expertise actually goes into the corporate arena. So we kind of train them in that as well. So help them build their resumes, help them get prep for interviews, and all these different stuff. And so we just kind of deal with their barriers as they come, and we utilize the relationships we have with Cook County companies and help them get a job as best we can.
So I also know that you all have places for them to live.
Yeah.
right? If I'm not mistaken, I know of one place. I don't know how many places you have, but I know of one in my ward over on the 2400 block of Jackson.
Yeah.
Right? So it's all veterans. Is it all just males or is it co-ed?
In our case right now, it's all male veterans. I think it's about 15 beds that are in that facility. We also have a, what's it called, Pioneer Housing as well?
Yes, Pioneer House, transitional house. It's over on 4400 West Jackson.
Yeah.
So it's 13 beds, and pretty much individuals who coming off the street or just get referrals from other different agencies, organizations. They're referred to our transitional house, and during that period of time, once they enter, they have their initial assessment, the intake, and they go over everything that they will be obligated to handle, what they'll be tied to and responsible for. So they, as we do, we meet them where they at. So understanding we want to push nobody away, but we still just want to work with them and heavily engage with them, and just stay in tune exactly what they're doing, what's expected of them, and what they expected of themselves. Just trying to instill some confidence, because everybody comes in through different levels, and that includes just abuse, substance abuse, any kind of other issues, as far as incarceration. So we have a lot of case managers over there that just work with them daily.
So you deal with folks if they've been incarcerated, you deal with folks if they've been on drugs.
Right.
All of those things. You deal with folks if they have mental challenges.
Yes, correct.
So you deal with everything.
Yes.
That's great.
Try our best.
It's a funny thing. My wife and I found ourselves not too long ago, we was at a gas station, right? And there's a guy out there, bagging, right? And I was like, oh, I know he's gonna come up on me and ask me for some money, right? So he came up to me, and I was like, man, I don't have no change. I'm getting ready to use my card, right? And he's like, oh, Alderman Burnett, right? It's like the dude knew who I was. And so we started talking. I said, look, man, let me figure out, see if they got a cash machine in there. I'll see what I can do. I don't do that there for everybody now, guys. Don't be asking me for money everywhere I go. So anyway, so we started talking, and I'm like, dude, why you out here, man? He's like, man, I just had hard times, I said, you getting high? Like, yeah, I'm getting high a little bit, stuff haven't been right for me, so on and so forth. He said, I'm a veteran. I said, you're a veteran? I think it's his hand or his feet, I can't remember, something was injured. I'm like, you're a veteran, man, why don't you go get help? Why don't you go to the veteran hospital? He said, I don't know if I can. I'm like, how you don't know if you can? You're a veteran. You should be able to go there and get some help. So I was like, okay, man, I'm gonna go see for sure if you can or not, and I'm gonna come back here and I'll let you know, but I think you can go there and get some help. And of course, when I came back, he wasn't there anymore. But that just says that there's so many veterans out there that have resources at their fingertips and don't know it. And it's I think it's incumbent upon us in society to be able to help them get those resources. So I appreciate organizations like yours. So give me an example how when a veteran come to you all, how you deal with it, and then also tell me about some of the organizations that you're working with that's helping you to help the veterans with jobs and things like that.
Okay. Actually, since I do the outreach piece, it's really simple because when I go to a physical shelter or a transitional living place, I go to them a lot of times. Because a lot of times, obviously transportation can be a pretty good barrier for them. So we do handle transportation costs for a lot of them that enroll in our program. So when I bring into their attention what I do for them, it's like, hey, I offer employment services. We can actually help you get a job. What's your background? I kind of find out these things ahead of time, and I can see if we can enroll them. So one of the things that when that happens and I find out they actually qualify for H.I.R.E, which is our homeless veteran reintegration program, and that's basically that's the grant that takes care of their transportation costs. That also takes care of their certifications, job training that they'll need, anything as far as getting not your work attire and your tools as well, which is just as important because a lot of them all they have is the clothing on their back. And if they need anything else to deal with like cold weather like this, we can supply them with some cold weather gear just to get them to and from because they're taking CTA a lot. So those transportation costs as well do include the CTA, obviously, Metra if they really do need it, or the PACE buses. So we can kind of cover a spectrum of all the different routes that will be taken as far as getting from to and from our office or any other work sites or any job fairs or anything like that. So the process it doesn't have to take that long. I know, for instance, just the other day I was sitting down with somebody, and again, I'm not the employment expert. I don't do that piece. We have two very well experienced individuals that have collectively over 25 years of experience doing an employment piece for veterans. But myself, when I was just out, I was at Featherfist, another transitional housing service, another company not company, but a not-for-profit that we work with, that we get an opportunity to utilize their resources with. And what's really cool, I was sitting down with a veteran, and he was just telling me about his background. Oh, I was a CNC programmer and operator. I did some machine operations. I used all these different lathes, from automatic to manual, and all this different stuff. I'm like, that's great. And I told him about like a position I used to have. Like I used to be a CNC programmer and operator too. I did that for 3.5 years. Long story short, I'm allergic to nickel. Can't do that stuff anymore. But I know the owner, and I think you can actually have a good, quick conversation with him, and we see if we can get you a job right away. And in that case, it worked out. The guy literally had the job. I talked to him on Tuesday, and the guy's going on Friday. That's how quickly we're able to do it because of because of the relationships we have with companies. And mine was a little bit more personal, but I know with one of our other senior employment specialists, he does the same thing where he literally knows companies that are training the next week, and he can literally get any veteran that he talks to into that training the following week. It doesn't really matter. Like if they're interested in security, he can get them into that perk training right away, and we can pay for it, or forklift training, or whatever it is. And even outside of that, we have a few companies that we're working with as well that we're just developing new relationships with, like from different hospitals, different hospitality companies, from everything from IT to any major careers that we can help them develop as well. So it's not just day-to-day 15-hour, 12-hour jobs. We're helping them establish a career and become self-sufficient as well.
So praise God for all of that.
Yeah.
So tell me, if a guy comes to you and they got a mental challenge,
yeah,
how do you deal with that?
Well, you got to piece it together. One guy came to me. He was, he came to our office. He physically went through the cold weather to get to our place, but his challenge was a little, I want to say exceptional. I haven't dealt with too many of those, but in that case, he was he was kind of paralyzed with like what he wanted to do, and he was so fearful of actually doing the job and actually getting there and performing for the work that he didn't really know if he wanted to continue on with the rest of the process. And so in that case, you just got to really just kind of establish some of the expectation, because a lot of times they get in there, and even if they do have mental challenges and whatever they are, we can still get them work. But some of the mental challenges aren't necessarily, it can be just necessarily be a substance use problem. It can be, those mental challenges can be just, it's kind of dealing with I haven't been able to get anywhere, been homeless for over 12 months, or a couple years. So some of those challenges are necessarily like, where you would never necessarily see the extreme where they can't physically do a work or mentally do a work. Some of them is just honestly to the years of repression and not being able to putting themselves in a position where they're not able to do anything.
So do you all have psychiatrists or psychologists?
That we do prefer them out. So I don't know, I'm not necessarily how we do that for me personally, because I don't deal with all the intake process. But I know if there's a resource or if there's something that we don't provide personally, obviously outside of employment, we do refer them out to other services. So we have the VA that we refer them out to, the Hines Hospital if they're closer to that one. So anything that can kind of help them out in that area. But we necessarily, within Inner Voice, we don't necessarily deal with mental case. Veterans that have mental problems.
So how do you deal with the veterans who may be addicted to drugs?
So those that might be addicted to drugs, again, we ask them through our intake process, hey, are you in a situation, are you having a substance use problem, we call it. And it's either drugs, alcohol, whatever it is. Some of them are already going through programs, so that's good. If they're not going through programs, we ask if they would like to be referred over to a program. And again, with that being said, we refer them out to different people that we work with already.
So you work with a lot of drug treatment places.
So primarily, I know a lot of that it's already provided for at like some of the shelters. They have some of the alcohol treatment places over there. I think Safe Haven does that as well. I know the VA obviously offers that. Hines Hospital offers that. So wherever we think the resources can be available to them that actually fits their demographic and where they are geography, that's where we send them to. We try not to send them all over the place. Try to make it a very smooth transition for them. And basically, we're a one-stop shop for employment. Maybe we can refer them in-house for some transitional living services. If not, we know a few other places we can send them to. And
so where you all located?
We have two major locations. One, our headquarters is located at temporarily until the middle of next year, but they're at 212 West Van Buren. That's right, just basically right inside the loop. I believe on the southwest side of the loop, and then we're on the northeast side. We're just right outside of the loop, off of 567 West Lake Street. So right off of Jefferson and Lake in the CTA building. And that's where we are, the veteran kind of quarter of Intervoice is kind of there when we work with H.I.R.E, the Homeless Veteran Reintegration Program.
Fantastic. So I heard that you all had a job fair and you had a lot of people to come.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that job fair?
We did. It was exceptional. Thanks, Platoon was there as well, supporting us.
So y'all know each other.
We do.
Absolutely.
We came in, she was like, I know you. That's good. And it worked out good because, and again, H.I.R.E was a huge help too, because this is where we actually were able to collaborate all of Intervoice's resources and the relationships we have with different companies and other resources like Code Platoon. And again, because we had about almost 40 employers there, and I think it was like 38. And it was pretty strong because we were actually having employers calling us up to the day of, and even CTA. And it's funny because we couldn't get a hold of them until the day of the employment, and they jumped in and grabbed the table. And it was awesome to just kind of see how many employers showed up. And the next piece was, how many people can we actually show up to this event? It's a hit or miss in most cases, but it just so happened we had about 88, maybe close to 90, pretty close to 90 actually. I guess 88 is pretty close, but we had about participants or people that were non-civilian and veterans alike with backgrounds. Some of them didn't have backgrounds, but it was really successful. I mean, all the take that we got from all the employers were like, this is like the best pool of candidates that we had in a while. A lot of these guys were really sharp. They're on top of their game. And it had a lot to do with what H.I.R. did as well with his participants, because he prepared them. We had resumes ready for these guys, or the guys and gals actually. And we had, they were all ready with the suits because we get donations from Men's Warehouse. So we were just like, hey, put these suits on before you get in there, or get these suits this week so we can get you all prepped for the job fair. And we did the same thing with even with H.I.R.'s guys that are non-veterans, but they still needed the assistance. Some of our gals that go through the Dress for Successful program, we were able to send them out ahead of time so they can get basically dressed head to toe, makeup, hair, outfit, everything, so they can get ready for the job fair. And it was really successful. We liked it.
Good. You want to say anything about the job fair?
Yes. The job fair, it was, as you said, it's a hit or miss sometimes, because I would say traditionally, people have different perspectives about job fairs. So it wasn't just a random job fair at a Hilton or, at a Hyatt. So these are relationships with employers that we, have deep connections with and pretty much correspond with each other, daily, weekly, just sending candidates and stuff. And so when we identify what the employers are needing and what they need, and we match the clients, that our clients exactly, then we could fill them in and it could be a perfect match. So yes, a lot of people walked out with a lot of smiles, a lot of relationships was built, and we continue to move forward with them.
Great. So tell me this, how can folks contact you if they want to get in contact with Intervoice? And then do you all have volunteers also?
Well, to get in contact with us, you can contact ivchi.org. or you can get in contact with us by our phone numbers. It's 312-994-5821. And volunteers, at this moment, I'm not sure exactly if we do have volunteers, but that would be something definitely welcome, like moving forward, because we are looking to expand more into the Workforce Solutions Division next year coming up. So that would be immensely grateful, you know, and I'm sure we could arrange some things like that to happen.
So I was just at a fundraiser for Inner Voice.
Yes.
Is Inner Voice a not-for-profit organization?
Yes, it is.
So if someone wanted to donate to you, what would they do?
Be get in contact with us. That same address, ivchi.org. Shoot us an email, give us a contact call, and then we could definitely, you know, make sure everything is aligned.
We also, and the website is also being revamped, so it's even what we tell you now might change up until by the time Valentine's Day gets here. And honestly, what's really cool, it's there's a donation button on our website too. So if you need to go through our resources and click on it, and basically I think there's several pages where you can get the option of donating if you believe in this certain part of the cause. So there's options to doing that. Obviously we have fundraisers once a year. We're thinking about updating that as well, just so we can have a little bit more social media presence in the community. The volunteer piece, it's interesting you bring that up, because the last time we had an event with another company, they were bringing that up as well with the volunteer aspect and how much time it can actually save us, so we can focus on the case management piece rather than sitting down with every single veteran and helping them with the resume, because it takes about 2-3 hours sometimes based on their background. And that can take away from the outreach, that can take away from case management, that can take away from, helping them get housing and stuff like that. So we're just finding ways, and more creative ways to kind of add that into it. But it's definitely, you're right, it's like if anybody has any other solutions and how we can apply that, that'd be great. But
Fantastic. Well, thank you all very much. We want to thank both Sir and also Ralph from the Inner Voice for coming on. People, if you want to get involved, volunteer, contribute, or help someone to get services, call the Inner Voice. It's a great organization, been around for a long time, and they care about our veterans and also other people also who are homeless. I know that there's a lot of people out there who may not be veterans, but who have loved ones that are veterans, that care about their loved ones that may not be here today and would love to volunteer and help someone else. So please get involved. We need to help these folks. These people have sacrificed for our country. Some of them may have challenges because of the sacrifice that they've given to our country. And so it's only, right that we help them and not look at them for what's going on with them now, but look at them for what they can be in the future with our help. So God bless you all, and thank you all for helping our veterans. So now we have a friend of Inner Voices that has been around in Chicago for about 3 years.
3 to 5. It depends on how you look at it as an organization.
All right. Well, Club Platoon, and in this case, I'm gonna let the lady go first, right? So it was Valentine's Day, and we have our Valentine here. You see this big old red heart here? I shouldn't say big old red heart, but this bright red heart here, sitting by my side, Ms. Gayle Hutchinson. Gayle is Gayle is the outreach consultant for Club Platoon, Platoon. Yeah. So Gayle, why don't you tell the audience about yourself and about your organization?
Well, I'm a native Chicagoan. Thank you guys for your service, by the way. And I've done a lot of corresponding kinds of things with veterans, including doing a research project on Project 100,000 veterans many years ago. These were veterans who scored differently on the ASVAB test and then shouldn't have been deployed, but we did some follow-up with them. As a leader in Hawaii for the Red Cross, I helped bring veterans home that needed to come see about family members and so forth, and had a great outreach with that. And my husband, he's buried in Punchbowl on Oahu, And he was a Marine, and so, this has a special place in my heart. My father was a veteran. I think that I should mention that many years ago, I was in charge of directing the very first homeless study in the United States here in Chicago, where we did streets and shelters. And a number of our people that we encountered were vets. And so we identified some needs for veteran populations based on our research at that time. And I'm glad that we partner with Inner Voice. The job fair they mentioned, I got 8, I believe it was, potential students from that job fair. Everyone was very polished, very wonderful to talk with. And so we're glad to have this partnership with Inner Voice. They do a great job.
Fantastic. And we also have Michael Dorsey, and Michael, formerly an engineer, and he was with the Navy.
That's correct.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us about yourself, Michael?
Sure. So my name is Michael Dorsey. Like you said, I was in the Navy for 5 years doing civil engineering. So simply put, we build, we fight. That's our motto.
You build, you fight.
That's right.
Sound like some kids.
I mean, well, we definitely had fun
They say
doing
we
it.
build and we tear up. That's the babies say, but go ahead.
So did that for 5 years, did a couple of deployments, and at the end of my tour, I ended up, teaching myself how to program. And after I got out of the military, it began to be quite difficult for me to break into the field and what I wanted to do. So I started to look for a coding boot camp, and that's when I found Platoon. And from there, Platoon accepted the GI Bill, so I was able to go to Platoon. It's a 14-week immersive program. Now I'm involved. I'm actually the president of the Alumni Association with Platoon. So, yeah.
So okay, now tell us, what is Platoon?
Yes, so Platoon is a coding boot camp for veterans and their spouses. So only thing that you have to do to qualify is either be a veteran or be a spouse of a veteran. So that allows you to come into the program. Like I said, it's 14 weeks, fully immersive. We take you from being a non-programmer to a full stack programmer. And we have a very high success rate. We have an apprenticeship program at the end that you can participate in if you so choose, and that allows you to get an apprenticeship with the companies that we work with, like DRW, Motorola, and such.
Really? And I know that, and I didn't mention this when the other guys were speaking, but I know that a lot of employers have preferences for veterans.
That's correct.
Right. I even know a lot of government agencies, if 2 people are taking the test and the veteran scores the same score, the veteran gets chosen first because they have preferences for veterans.
That is correct. Yeah, and for good reason as well. Everyone knows that veterans, we are on time. We have definitely skills that we can offer, leadership skills. Not only that, a lot of times we have trouble translating that over to the civilian sector, and what that ends up coming out to is the fact that we have so many other skills, just as like organizational skills, communicational skills, things of that nature, that people may not realize that are very important when it comes into to the civilian sector.
Fantastic. So coding, some of the audience is like, what is coding? You know what I'm saying? Is it like you go do SOS, or you look at those movies, you see them do.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, well, programming is it's an algorithm. And what is an algorithm? An algorithm is nothing more than a set of steps that you have to follow. So it's me telling the computer exactly what I want it to do. So anytime I explain it to someone who may not have a coding background, I always say, think of the steps that it takes to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Those steps, if you write those down and you give that to someone, that's actually an algorithm. So there are different programming languages that are available in order to implement that into computer code. And currently, Platoon, we teach Python and React as well. So that's a JavaScript library. So these programming languages really allow you to really break into the workforce, because Python is really big right now, and it just allows you to pretty much do whatever you want. So you want to build a website, once you go through Platoon, you'll know how to do that. You would like to build a mobile app, you'll be able to do that as well. And a lot of our students actually do.
So I know that right now, there's a lot of companies that may be looking for those certificates. So you get a certificate?
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay. So what is this? They say 62-hour certificate, or what kind of certificate would it be?
Well, this is just a certificate of completion, but going through the program, you actually get other certificates as well, such as Agile training, which is very big in the technical industry. So that's just learning how to work within small teams and producing your work or a product very quickly in a quick turnaround time. Not only that, they go through an AWS. We all know Amazon. That's one of their products. An AWS certification that you get as well is very sought after. And you also get other training like financial training, resume training as well. So there's quite a bit of training that you actually get in order to make you a well-rounded candidate.
So how much does this cost veterans?
So Platoon costs $13,000, and we actually give scholarships. So the most that any one veteran would have to pay out of pocket would be $3,000. And that also can be waived as far as like GI Bill, or if they do Vet Tech or another program.
What is Vet Tech?
So Vet Tech is actually something that's actually rather new that Platoon actually offers as well. So Vet Tech is the basis of it is if you have 1 day on your GI Bill or your benefits, you're able to actually go through the program fully, no matter how many days you have left on your actual programs. And that allows you to go through the program at cost-free to you.
It's a set aside for veterans for technical training, basically, so that they can increase their pot of money, basically, so that they can go through more technical training.
So the federal government have a resource
Yes.
there, so
Yes.
that veterans can get technical training, so they can adapt to the changing society. So right now, I know there's a lot of companies out here who actually recruit a lot of folks from out of the country to come and work in these fields. And folks actually get visas to come over here. And one of the reasons that they say they do this is because they don't have enough Americans to do it.
Yeah, it's
Is
very
that
true.
true?
It's very true. The tech industry is at a detriment right now as far as the jobs out there. I know just alone in things like cybersecurity or just tech period, I think in a couple of years it'll be at a few million jobs that are gone unfilled. And people just don't know, either they feel like the barrier to entry is so high, and that's what Platoon does. We cut that barrier to entry down. So that way we can help you, usher you over to the tech field and pretty much into your dream and your passion, if that's your choice.
So what has been your success rate on helping veterans to obtain employment with this training? Because a lot of folks be like, man, I'm not going through another training program.
Yeah.
They just want to, you pay a little money, you go through training, you don't get a job. Right? And that's what a lot of folks think.
Yeah. So when I went through the program, I was very uneasy, because I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. I just did it. And, we usually say, if things is too good to be true, then it is. Well, Platoon, not only is too good, it's too excellent not to be true. So they just really just help you. And it took me from a place of not knowing what I wanted to do, a loss of sense of purpose, to moving over to my dream that was inspired actually by my grandmother, who was a programmer. And she took me to work with her one day, so that's where my passion came from. And Platoon was able to step in say, this is what we're going to do. They delivered on that and beyond. And I was able to get a job immediately after graduating. And once I got that job, I was getting hounded by a lot of people like, oh, okay, well, you have these skills now. Like, hey, like, we want to hire you. So
everybody's trying to get you.
so everybody's trying to get you at that point. So even if
You're like, leave me alone. Leave me
alone. Please don't leave me alone. But it allowed me to be very marketable.
Have choices.
Yeah, and even people who don't get apprenticeship, because there are a limited amount of apprenticeships. Platoon and I, from the Alumni Association, we actually help. We have a job board that we make sure that you are continually being marketable and that you get a job. And I just had a very good friend of mine who went through Platoon. That was her case, and she didn't get the apprenticeship, but she was able to get a job very shortly after.
So tell me this. So, and any one of you all can chime in on this. Do any companies or corporations get credit for having veterans, for hiring veterans? Do they get,
Some
tax
do.
credits or anything
They get
like
some
that?
tax credits.
They definitely do.
They get
Yes.
tax credits for
Some of
hiring
them do,
veterans.
yeah. They have to qualify for them, though.
So veterans are worth something to companies if they hire them.
They're value added.
They're value added.
Yeah.
So
When you look at the assets of human talent, they bring certain qualifications, which all of you have talked about, ahead of many other people because they've had the discipline, they've had the training, they have the communication skills, they have the attendance records and so forth, that a lot of people coming into the workforce or who have been in the workforce don't necessarily have. So they're proven skills. Okay. Let me add that Code just started a part-time program now that will start next year, and that will be a longer program than the 14-week boot camp, but it'll allow for people who are working to come into the program and get the training as well.
So you can work and get the
Yeah,
training.
so we're starting in 2020. We're going to have one course that goes through, it's 36 weeks or 35 weeks, and it allows for people who work to come in the evening and one weekend day to attend.
So so that's 36 weeks for one weekend. But the regular course, how long does it take?
14
if you go
weeks.
14, so for 14 weeks.
Full time.
Full time, 14 weeks. So what about transportation? What
We
about
can
all
work
that
with
other
people,
stuff?
we can provide that, we can help them with housing and some other things
So you
if
can
we
help with
need.
transportation and
Yeah.
housing?
Well, some transportation, they have to qualify for it, sure.
So you work with other agencies
Yes,
too?
just like these.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, so you are very holistic with working with
we
folks.
try to be, sure.
So I know, and I'm sure all of you all know this, like I was talking to the gentleman at the gas station. A lot of veterans have benefits and don't know about them,
Sure.
right? And they have a lot of resources and don't know how to obtain them,
right.
right? So you all try to tap into all of those resources and educate folks on how to utilize that. So if I wanted to if I was a veteran, I wanted to come to your organization, Code Platoon, right? I come and I say I want to sign up. You all check my background and see if I'm a veteran. What if I'm a veteran who had a record?
So we don't discriminate
No.
at
Okay.
all. So the only qualification is that you're a veteran.
Okay.
Or a
So-
spouse.
Or a spouse of a
spouse.
veteran, that's correct.
Okay, and if I have any other challenges, you'll try to direct me to some resource where I can get some help
Yeah.
with that.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Okay, so you're saying that a veteran and their spouse can use this.
Yeah, we
So
actually did
Yeah, we have.
so when
had
you
that.
say spouse, right?
Yeah.
Is it girlfriend?
No.
It has to be married.
Yeah.
Yes,
Legal-
legal
you can't-
tender.
You can't just be hooked up.
No,
Nowadays everybody say how they say it. They say something about I don't know. These young people always say a whole bunch of stuff.
Well, actually, I've recruited 2 male spouses.
2 male spouses.
Yeah.
Or
And
female spouses.
because their wife was in the military. So, you know, and the other thing I add to that is, you know, software development / coding is ageless.
Yeah, it keeps
You know, there's
mutating.
no, you know, barriers as long as people, and I have some older adult candidates that are going to finish. Very proud of that.
That's great. Tell me this. So you're never too old, you're never too young.
young.
Tell me this.
Well, you might be too young if you haven't. You can't serve in the military.
Good point.
So tell me this. So what's the average pay?
So the average pay, so usually when people come into the program, they're making somewhere between 33 to 35,000. When they get out of the program, on average, a software developer makes about 67 to 75.
67. So
Within-
after they finish 14 weeks.
That's correct.
Possibly.
Yeah. And
Fantastic. So we're running out of time, believe it or not.
sure.
So can you tell us real quick how can people get in contact with Code Platoon?
Sure. So you can go to our website. It's coplatoon.org, and you can fill out the application there, and our number is there as well.
Fantastic.
And you can also donate and volunteer.
So you can donate and volunteer with
Yes.
Code Platoon?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. And if corporations want to get in contact with you who may need some veteran employees,
You can go through that.
and will
website as well.
you tell the corporations what type of credits they can get for hiring veterans? You know about
I'm
all
sure we can work with them to figure out if they have tax credit eligibility for it. So, yeah.
Fantastic. So, ladies and gentlemen, we just had a great show talking about opportunities for veterans, resources for veterans, talking about no excuses for our veterans to be out there homeless, jobless. There's help for them. I want to thank our two guests. We have the Inner Voice. How do you contact the Inner Voice again?
Inner Voice is, you can contact us by our email or by our website. And our email is ivchi.org. Telephone number is 312-994-5821. And our website is innervoice.org.
And what's your address again?
It's 212. We had two addresses. First address is 212 West Van Buren, and the other address is 567 West Lake Street.
Fantastic. And then Code Platoon?
Yeah. So you can contact us on our website, coplatoon.org, and we're located downtown as well.
125 South Clark, 17th floor. I don't know the phone number off the top of my head. It's in my phone. See how this works?
Technology.
Yeah.
So what are your hours there?
Generally 9 to 5.
9 to 5? Sure. Fantastic. So folks can go and they can take a course for 14 weeks, possibly get a $35,000 to $65,000 job, right, and be on their way. Fantastic. And you know, if you don't want to do it, maybe your spouse want to do it, right?
Or maybe both.
Or maybe both,
We've
right?
had both.
What about their kids?
If they're in the military,
What if they
they're
my
a spouse.
cousin? What if they
No.
my cousin?
If they're in the military or they're a spouse.
I'm
they
trying to
can
figure out a way that I can do it. I got an uncle who's a veteran.
You can't parlay his service.
All right. Well, I want to thank you all for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having us.
God bless you all for everything that you do. God knows we need to continue to try to do everything we can to help our veterans. They may be out there homeless. They may be out there on drugs. They may have mental challenges. We have to look at them for what they can be, not for what they are. And we need to help them. And they have potential, and there's help for them. But we need to help them to get that help. And we can do that, all of us. Not just these organizations, but all of us, ladies and gentlemen. We can't just look down on people. We need to, see them going up. So I want to thank you all for watching Network 27. I wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day. For you all who don't have a loved one, I hope you get one. For you all who are in love, I hope it flourish. God bless you all, and thank you for watching. See you next month.